Basketball players have always had media hopping tendencies. Karl Anthony Towns has his own Twitch channel, Shaq's been on more TV cameos than he's made free throws, LeBron James played a boring version of himself in Space Jam 2. But before all of them, and before he appeared in the original Space Jam, Michael Jordan received the video game treatment. Michael Jordan, Chaos in the Windy City is just about as far as you can get from a credible sports game. Granted, it does have basketballs, but their purpose is to allow MJ to take out his enemies or occasionally pull off a wicked dunk. Skadoosh. Not just one of the most iconic English footballers to ever play the game, David Beckham has evolved into a bit of a cultural icon, before deciding to swan off to America to go play soccer. FIFA fans will note that he made it onto the game's cover in 1998. Maybe I'm here to talk about that, something that will keep Bex' credibility in check. No. Instead, let's look at Go Beckham! Adventure on Soccer Island! I'm sorry for shouting. There's just so many gosh darn exclamation marks in this game. The gameplay is a cross between Super Mario World and Soccer Kid, and frankly, it's not even a bad game. It's colourful, fun, quirky. Once you get past the fact that David Beckham is just there, it's just quite charming. Charming or not though, it just makes me feel a bit strange. I just don't understand why. But then again, people felt strange about him marrying a Spice Girl or wearing a sarong, and both have kind of worked out for him, haven't they? Starring in blockbusters like Planet of the Apes, Max Payne and Transformers, Mark Wahlberg shot to movie stardom in the 21st century. But what you might not know is that before he was gracing the silver screen, he was the frontman for his own hip-hop outfit. Yep, this is Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, and this is their video game, Make My Video. Basically, you're given 3 of the Funky Bunch's songs, as well as some pre-made clips, and you had to reorder them to make a music video. That's it. That's the whole game. And before you think of this as some kind of out-of-the-box, unique concept, it wasn't that. It was like, really, just a massive. It got reviewed 0 out of 10 by some critics. I didn't even think that was possible, and now I'm worried about the reviews for this episode. I want to talk about someone who may not have the international recognition of the rest of these celebrities, Chris Kamara. The man had a 20-year career across 9 English football clubs, and then moved on to a career as a broadcaster, doing things like this.
And we're off to Fratton Park, where there's been a red card, but for who, Chris Kamara?
I don't know, Jeff, has there? I must have missed that. Red card?
Yes, that man right there has his own video game, believe it or not. One of the greats of the sporting genre, it's Chris Kamara's Street Soccer. Fans of his playing days may be excited to take to the field as Chris. He is playing on the cover after all. But no, you can't actually play as him. He's not even in the game. As a consolation, however, he'll throw in a few lines of commentary here and there. You can think of this as a precursor to FIFA Street, but a lot more rough around the edges. All in all, not terrible, not great. It exists. It's a thing. Much like Kamara's footballing career, it happened, and I am indifferent to it. As one of the greatest martial artists to ever kick his way through Hollywood, I'm sure nobody's surprised that Bruce Lee has scored himself a video game. In fact, he's got several. He popped up in EA's UFC 2 and had his own romp in Quest for the Dragon, not to mention the various fighting game characters modelled on his likeness. But before all these was his first video game appearance, Bruce Lee. No, I'd finish the sentence. The game is just called Bruce Lee, and the likeness is uncanny. It wasn't even a fighting game either, just a platformer that saw Bruce traverse through a wizard's tower in a quest for infinite wealth and immortality. But as ridiculous as it all sounds, it wasn't a bad game. It was reviewed well, sold well, and even had some cutting-edge features. Again, I'm not saying all the games on this list will be terrible. I'll work out some kind of metric when we're done. It'll all make sense, I promise. Let's talk about the most famous celebrity who ever lived, arguably, Michael Jackson. He took the entertainment world by storm with his music, released a movie, and then he set his sights on the world of video games with Moonwalker. See, the King of Pop reached out to Sega first. He wanted to work with them to capture his likeness and create a game. He was actually involved in the development. And yeah, it all looks a bit ridiculous, but it was genuinely a really solid title. Its graphics were a step ahead at the time, the gameplay was unique, and the sound design was unsurprisingly bad. As in, Michael Jackson bad. That means good. Honestly, it redeems a lot of the terrible cash grab celebrity games. Not completely, but, you know, a little bit. Would you believe me if I told you that Snoop Dogg, Carmen Electra, Ice-T, and Ludacris all appeared in a video game together? Well, they did, amongst others, in Def Jam Fight for New York, and it was actually genuinely, truly pretty brilliant. Basically, Def Jam took a bunch of artists signed to their label, put them in a video game, and said, go, fight each other. That's the premise. Now, I'm not slating it, because it works, and having household names like Busta Rhymes go up against Danny Trejo for some reason in an underground, no-holds-barred, bare-knuckle fight is as entertaining as a video game gets. But it gets even better. If Exhibit, Sean Paul, Ghostface Killer, and Flavor Flav wailing on each other isn't enough for you, you can even play as Christopher Judge. That's right, even Kratos is in the game. It's all fun as hell, and it's accompanied by two others by Def Jam, Vendetta and Icon. If you want to plaster celebrities all over your game, this is how you do it correctly. And surely, our top 3 are even better. No, now we take a turn. There are few footballers as prolific as Cristiano Ronaldo. He's got a lethal right foot, the looks of an Adonis, and thighs powerful enough to strangle an ox. Oh, he's also got his own skating game, with a Danish troll? Ronaldo and Hugo, superstar skaters, is, frankly, as well as being difficult to say, baffling. Firstly, there's no football involved. I don't know if Ronaldo moonlights as a skateboarder, but that brings me on to my second confusion. Most of the time, you're just running. Only a tiny portion of the game Superstar Skaters is actually skating. So what are you running from? Good question. A photojournalist. On a moped. Of course you are. Why wouldn't you be? Oh, and sometimes you get in a squirrel suit and fly around. It's just a whole load of baffling nonsense all tied up together. And before I redeem it, no, it's not good. But I'm so happy it exists. As one of the most infamous players of his era, Bill Laimbeer was the baddest boy of the NBA's bad boys, the Detroit Pistons. And that's really something, considering Dennis Rodman played for them too. For those that don't know basketball, well, Dennis Rodman was a bad boy too. They all were, and that's why they're called the bad boys. Moving on. So while Bill was known for flagrant, very obvious fouls, so it actually kind of makes sense that a game about him would be titled Combat Basketball. And that is the only way I can justify a sports game with combat suits, dynamite, and a complete absence of rules and referees. The concept itself works, but the game was let down by everything else. Its controls, graphics, sound design, gameplay, they were all rubbish. But as a concept and nothing more, this gets nearly perfect marks from me. As a game though, I don't know, 1 out of 5? Can I give it a half point? Stomping his way into our number 1 spot is none other than Shaquille O'Neal. As one of the greatest to ever play the game, Shaq had the world at his size 23 feet, and everyone wanted a piece of the action with him, video game developers included. Enter Shaq Fu, an alternate dimension, otherworldly fighting game where Shaq goes toe-to-toe against an evil mummy / Egyptian god. I really wish I was making this up. The game gets number 1 because it's full of turmoil. I don't know if it's good or bad. I cannot work out if this game is genius or just complete lunacy. They even made a sequel in 2018. It came with a DLC, The Adventures of Dirty Barry. Dirty Barry is Barack Obama. He goes on a quest through France and outer space to defeat Kanye West. It's like a lucid dream you can't and sort of don't want to wake up from. It's my number 1 celebrity game. Shaq Fu is the best, the worst, the most confusing, and most brilliant celebrity game ever made. Case closed. Done. Sure, we lost track of what we were measuring this list on, but it doesn't matter. In every category, there's always one common name, Shaq Fu. It always comes back to Shaq Fu. Order the other ones whichever way you want, but you can never escape nor hide from the outlandishness of Shaq Fu. As for the others, well, there's a few strokes of genius amongst them. Should you play them? Probably not. But hey, I'm not the boss of you. If you want to wrestle gods as Shaq, be my guest. go ahead and tear through the streets as Ronaldo, armed with your pet troll. The world is your oyster, my friends. And with that, I bid you good night.